Doug Christie now 17-10 as the Sacramento Kings head coach. As we outlined yesterday, they were 13-18 when he took over. 5 games under. Along the way, 7 straight wins. Trade your franchise player. Deal with all of the fallout that comes with that. And still, you go and get a polarizing player like Zach LaVine. You go and get another, what's the offensive type player in Zach LaVine. And a player that you like, by the way, if you're Doug Christie, a player that you really like, and you're left to kind of, juggle all of this. You're adding Valanciunas was a plus. We think adding Jake LaRavia is a plus, and you've got to figure this out all along the way. And then you mentioned, okay, well, since the new group has gotten here, they're 5-2, and man, to me, above all else, that speaks to what Doug Christie is doing. It's not 7-0. We didn't think that the Kings were going to be able to maintain, that level of playing when Doug took over, but it's what they desperately needed. They needed to dig out of that sub 500, ditch they were in, and they did it. And he's been able to, at least as best he could, build, try to build off of that. But 17-10, man, that's a solid record. And that's, we said this yesterday, the domino is the front office. But to me, Doug has earned a chance to be this team's coach.
Well, man, think about this, man. He's got, in his tenure, he's got a 7-1 stretch and a 5-2 stretch. It's pretty good. And sandwiched in between there is the turmoil of your star player asking out and then playing shorthanded and then trying to add guys. When they played bad, it wasn't like they were whole, you know what I'm saying? And they just were playing bad. There's always been something going on with Doug Christie's teams, and he's found a way to, like you said, get him to a 17-10 record under his tenure. That's pretty good, man. I think for a few different reasons, he, for sure is going to be the Kings' next head coach. Number one, I think he deserves it. Number two, I think the Kings may be looking at if they're being real with themselves. Shout out TC.
I think TC's on the line.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to you in a second, TC. But like being real with themselves, it's not a desirable job. People were mad at you guys around the league. Coaches were mad at you guys around the league when you fired Mike Brown. So you may have to, and I don't say it, disrespectful to Doug, but you may have to have Doug Christie be the coach, because there might be people out here like, nah, man, don't fool with Sacramento.
Does keeping Doug around but letting your front office go make your your GM job a lot less desirable?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
absolutely. Yeah, because a general manager is going to want to hire his coach.
Doug, I think, is the right coach for the Kings, but he's in a tough spot because it's.
Yeah, it's
just kind of like, it's almost as if, I don't know if he's tied to the front office or not, but it's like if you keep Doug around and look for a GM, that's gonna limit your search, I feel. And you talked about it, like you already have a rep as the Kings.
It's either going to limit your search, or it's going to put Doug and the front office at odds immediately. Because if a general manager begrudgingly takes the job with the idea of, well, whenever he slips up, I could just fire Doug Christie. That sets, whether it outwardly sets his relationship with Doug, into a bad spot immediately. It might not happen outwardly, but he knows in the back of his head that's going to keep them at odds. Right. Doug's thinking the same thing. Right. This guy didn't hire me. He's going to want me out of here the first time I slip up. That's what Doug's got a lot of history in this organization to point to say that's what this organization does.
And it's like, if you keep Doug around and say you keep the front office around, say you don't get the results you want next year, it's like, all right, time to move on from the front office. It's like, are we moving on from Doug then? Like, you just held him for a season and a half, and that's it. Like,
you hope not. Like,
Doug is absolutely the right guy if like this was like a rebuild, or like you kind of put him in an impossible situation.
You could Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for everybody involved because then you have to interview candidates. Like if you're, I assume Vivek, and you want Doug Christie to be your head coach, but you want to start the new front office off on the right foot. It's like, look, I'm hiring you to do a job. Now, I don't know that Vivek would actually do this, but I'm hiring you to do a job. I would like Doug Christie to be our head coach. He has my utmost support. However, I'm hiring you to do a job. If you want to conduct coaching interviews, you can conduct coaching interviews, but I need Doug to be the first and last one. If you decide he's not the right head coach for this team, I'd like an explanation why, but I'm going to trust you to make this decision. Now, as I'm acting this out loud, I realize immediately Vivek's going to hate this general manager if this general manager doesn't hire who he wants. So there's no scenario. I can't figure out a scenario where this is good unless a general manager comes in and goes, no, I really do love Doug Christie.
And how would he even know? How would that general manager even know that?
Watching.
Because he's bloody
or he knows. Or he calls Isaiah Thomas. I'm not trying. I'm kind of being funny, but not really.
Yeah, right.
Like, remember how Isaiah was raving about Doug Christie?
Yeah.
He was like, yo, when I found out I was in, I don't know what general manager talks like that, but like, yo, when I found out I was interviewing for this job, I called Isaiah. I called people who knew Doug Christie.
Hey, Vladi, you want to come GM again?
Well, yeah, go ahead. Get your jokes off. It's all fun and games till the press release goes out. It's all fun and games till the press release goes out. Real quick, I want to get TC in here, but the 7-game stretch, I think we forget this. 7-game stretch includes wins over Dallas, Memphis, Golden State, Miami, Boston.
They were cooking.
They lose to Milwaukee. Come back, beat the Rockets, Wizards, and the Warriors again. That's a 10-1 stretch. Before they hit, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, their worst stretch of the season under Doug Christie, which is a 2-6 stretch.
And that started on that road trip, huh?
Yeah.
And that's when everything started.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yes. That's